Hi, and welcome to Northwest Brew Talk. I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
And this is episode number 29. Each week we promote the Washington brewing industry by talking to those people involved and drinking Washington beer. With almost 300 breweries, we try to highlight as many as possible every episode. If you are new to the show, we suggest you check out our back catalog with some great interviews and lots of Washington beer. On today's show, we have an interview with Whitewall Brewing, our brew news and views, and local music from Laurie Miller.
If you have any comments or questions, send us an email to nwbrewtalk@gmail.com. We're on Twitter at nwbrewtalk and on Facebook at facebook.com/nwbrewtalk. If you like the show and want to support us, why not become a patron? With a donation, we offer everything from a guest hosting the show to a copy of our upcoming book, Washington Beer. Head over to nwbrewtalk.podbean.com for more details. To start the show, let's open our first beer.
All right, here's a new one. This is from Justice Brewing. This is White and Nerdy.
Justice Brewing is located in Everett and opened in 2012, and it's Everett's first Belgian-style brewery. They offer bottles around the area as well as kegs and growler fills at the brewery. They also offer a flight of samples of all their beers that they have on draft, but they are only open by appointment.
Very light-looking beer.
White and Nerdy is 32 IBUs, 6% ABV Belgian white ale. Brewed with Pilsner malt, wheat, sweet orange peel, citra hops, and traditional Belgian yeast. Hoppier than traditional Belgian wit beers, but keeping the traditional character intact. Light-bodied for a refreshing change of pace from big-bodied beers.
Yeah, definitely not a heavy beer at all. It's very light. Yeah, how much? Do you know how much? 6% alcohol.
6% ABV, 32 IBUs.
Yeah. 6% is a little more than I thought. But yeah, it's very light.
Yeah, you're right. That is kind of high for as light as it is.
Not bad, though. Decent flavor to them. Nice. White and nerdy. All right. Now on to the brew news and views.
This Saturday, August 15th, there are plenty of beer-related events to keep your taste buds tingling for the entire weekend. The big news is that Flying Bike Cooperative Brewery, the member-owned, member-driven brewery in Seattle, is ready to open its doors. They will be opening their doors at noon, and we expect it will be a busy place. Flying Bike is the West Coast's first cooperative brewery. They have 5 member beers on tap, 2 brewer handles, and a guest cider. Head brewer Kevin Forehand and board members will be on hand to answer questions and, of course, drink some beer. Also Saturday, Reuben's Brews is celebrating their 3rd anniversary at their brewery in Ballard, in Seattle. They will be debuting their anniversary beer, 3 Years Goes Fast. This is the 2nd beer in their sour series. Also, the first 200 people to have a pint will receive a free commemorative glass. As if that wasn't enough to do in one day, the 4th annual Everett Craft Beer Festival is also this Saturday. Featuring 30 Washington breweries, over 100 beers, food, and music, many beers will be poured through Randall's, filled with unique ingredients, making this a different event than other festivals. It's 21 and over, so leave the kids at home.
Yeah, Randall is a manual tap. They can pour some like spices in it, and then they can crank the beer out. And
wow, very cool.
You get a different... they can make everybody's beer a little different.
Wow.
Okay, BusinessInsider.com had a recent story on America's 20 best cities for beer drinkers. I'm sure there are several cities in Washington that would like to lay claim to being one of those cities. Seattle, Bellingham, maybe Spokane. But according to our article author Thomas Berg, no city in Washington state is in the top 20 for best beer cities.
What?
Yep. Another article at Priceonomics named the top 20 snobbiest beer cities. This was based on the number of bars and restaurants that served Bud Light, Coors Light, and Miller Lite. At number 1 was Bellingham, Washington, where 92% of the bars and restaurants do not serve the light swill from the mega beer companies. Bellingham, once several more breweries in construction will open, will have more breweries per capita than Seattle.
Wow.
That gives them a good chance, a good case to be on the top 20 beer cities. But that also means that Seattle, without a doubt, made that list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Seattle has more breweries than several entire states. Ballard alone has more than Bellingham. But according to the article author again, Thomas Berg, Seattle does not make the cut.
Wow.
Cleveland does. Los Angeles does. Seattle blows them away. Just another author who really doesn't know his beer.
Craft Brew Alliance posted a second quarter profit of 7 cents a share, but they missed analyst projections of 10 cents per share. Brewers of Kona, Widmer Brothers, and Red Hook, which is the largest brewery in Washington, their shares have declined 18% this year and hit $8.74 a share on Monday.
All right. Sounds like they're struggling a little bit. Largest brewery in the state, though. Now, this story broke a few weeks ago, and it wasn't huge news, so we didn't really want to jump on the bandwagon. But if you're a fan of The Simpsons television show, get ready for Homer's favorite beer, Duff Beer, with its mascot Duff Man, to make it to the shelves of a store, but not quite close to you. For years, you could get Duff t-shirts and mugs, clocks, and other Duff-related items, but now you can get the real thing. 21st Century Fox has given the green light for a real version of Duff Beer to be released, but the country of Chile is the only country where you will be able to find the beer at this time. They may release it in South America and Europe next year. The reason for the beer release? There have been unauthorized versions being produced for years, especially in Chile, where Fox filed an intellectual property right. So they figured instead of fighting them, they would just join them in trying to outsell them. There will be the beer sold at Universal theme parks in California and Florida. Simpsons at the Simpsons section in the U.S., but there are no plans for a U.S. release at this time. And what will Duff Beer taste like? To me, I always thought it was, a mega swill beer type of thing.
I would have assumed that.
According to the release, it will contain a hint of fruit and a caramel aromatic. And that is the brew news and views for this week.
Welcome back to Northwest Brew Talk. If you want to submit news to Northwest Brew Talk, send us an email to nwbrewtalk@gmail.com. Or if you've not yet subscribed to our podcast, why not do it now? It's free, available anywhere you listen to podcasts, including iTunes, Podbean, and Stitcher. If you like us, a review or rating would be really appreciated. But make sure to tell your friends about Northwest Brew Talk.
All right. Now, let's talk to the guys from Whitewall Brewing in Marysville. We are here with Sean and Aaron from Whitewall Brewing in, is this technically Arlington? Marysville?
Yeah.
Okay. And how are you guys doing today?
Good.
Awesome. So, you guys opened March 1st, 2014, right?
Correct.
So, you opened just a little over a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
How's it going so far?
Beyond our expectations.
Is it?
Yeah. We kind of went into this as if we could afford to pay the rent and afford to pay for materials, and that's all that ever happened, then we'd be super happy because we'd have a cool place to share beer with our friends.
Yeah.
And little did we know it was going to be extremely popular.
Yeah.
We started a year ago on a 2-barrel system, and so we've already expanded to 7 barrels within that first year.
Really?
Yeah. And we have ideas to continue to expand. I mean, it's the market right now, and especially this area, we can expand as quickly as we wanted to. I mean, it's crazy how much of a demand for a community place to hang out and drink good beer that there is. It's beyond our wildest expectation, for sure.
So what type of experience did you guys have before you wanted to get into this?
We were homebrewers.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're in the same homebrew club up in Arlington, the Stilly Mashers. And I personally have been brewing off and on as a home brewer since about '99, and
I started in about 2006, I think, and we brewed independently. He belonged to a club long before I did, and then we both ended up joining the Stilly Mashers, and that's kind of where we got to know each other, and we were able to try each other's beers. And when I thought about doing this at my house and just kind of doing, wholesale and whatnot. And I started looking at the numbers and the metrics, and I'm like, you got to have a tap room. So once that became a reality, I realized that I couldn't do it on my own. I couldn't brew and run the tap room and run the business. And so I reached out to Aaron and said, hey, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, I want to open a brewery, but I was thinking of it as like a retirement thing. And, and I said, no, I'm thinking about it like now.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what's
some,
that going to look like?
Yeah.
Took some convincing.
And so,
See the numbers and everything.
yeah, so we put all the numbers down on paper, and I said, hey, this is what you need to come into it with, and this is what I'll come into it with. And with the help of a lot of friends and family and doing a lot of the stuff ourselves, a lot of the construction, my family is in the trades. Some of his wife's family's in the trades, so
That always helps.
we were able to create what you see here for very little, comparatively,
Sure.
compared to what is required. I went to a brewery yesterday that was absolutely beautiful, but you could tell they have a lot of money invested in that place, and we just weren't in a position in life to do something like that.
Oh, yeah. Now, knowing the way the market is around the country, breweries opening almost every day, you had no problem getting new equipment when you wanted to upgrade?
The majority of our stuff is repurposed and or used.
Okay.
Our cellar equipment was from a brewery that decided to shut down because he wanted to regroup and get bigger. And so for the meantime, he just was going to liquidate everything and put everything in savings until he could grow.
Okay.
Our first brand new piece of equipment is our new kettle that we got from Pioneer Tanks down in Seattle, or Portland. And since then, we've ordered more equipment from them that's on its way. So we've been very happy with them.
Awesome.
Getting into it initially, we knew where we could cut a lot of costs was not buying brand new.
Right.
As long as the process was good, we knew that we could make the equipment work. They kind of call it the Franken brew. We have an old dairy tank for our mash tun, and but
It's pretty common.
yeah, it is. And that our hot liquor tank's an old dairy tank too that's been converted to electric, and it still makes great beer. It's just a little bit more troublesome, a little more labor intensive.
Sure.
Yeah,
So-
we're in no way automated here, so very hands-on. So.
You're both the brewers.
Yep.
Yes.
Did you bring in recipes that you had homebrewed?
Yeah.
Yeah, we both brought in recipes of our own and then developed new ones on the fly. The pale ale is one I put together a recipe 30 minutes before we brewed it, and it was pretty much spot on right then and there. So
we started developing a few recipes like most people do before they open. But the red IPA I'd been making for years. The brown and the porter I'd been making for a long time. And then when we were on the smaller system, we really enjoyed that we could brew smaller batches more often.
Right.
So over the last year, we've brewed 20 different styles. The problem is everybody liked all of them.
Oh, yeah.
And so now that we're on the bigger system, they're like, well, when are you going to do the Belgian? When are you going to do the... And it's like, well, we really can't right now.
and we're handcuffed in the fermenter space. So.
Yeah.
Right. So how many taps do you have going?
We have 10 taps. 8 of them are ours normally, and then 2 guest taps. We range from light beers, like our cream ales, our lightest beer, to porter and stouts being our darkest beer. We don't have a stout on right now, and unfortunately we're out of the porter, which is very popular as well. Porter, hopefully will be back on tap next week. But pale ale, red IPA, brown, Northwest style brown ale, kind of hoppier than like your Newcastle Browns from England.
And we don't have a house IPA. We don't have a typical IPA. We have our red IPA, which is it's got a bigger malt body.
Okay.
But it's definitely got the hop backbone to handle it. But it took a little bit of convincing to get people to realize that is actually an IPA.
Yeah, those hop heads.
Yeah. So everybody comes in and they want, where's your IPA?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your hoppiest beer?
Yeah, what do you got for an IPA? We're like, well, that's our red IPA. Well, I don't like red IPAs. Here, try it. We're like, oh, I like this one.
So part of it's educating your customers too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, in this area, before we opened, there were no breweries in this area except for Skookum.
Mm-hmm.
We were the first brewery in Marysville with a tasting room. And I think there was another brewery that was out of his house, and I don't know if it was totally legit. But as of now, we're still the only one in Marysville with a tasting room. There's a couple more breweries in Marysville that have opened. Like I said, the At-Large Brewing Company. Jim Weissweaver, really solid brewer. He loves to brew IPAs. He's got like 5 or 6 different IPAs. So for those hotbeds out there.
We also decided going into it that we were going to brew the beer that we liked. And we were hopeful that everyone else would like it.
Right.
And they have,
Yeah.
which is good because a lot of people come in here and they look at the tap list and they go, well, what's a cream ale? What's a red IPA? It's not your typical blonde, pale IPA, So, and then we've also, we have aspirations to do a lot of cool stuff. We just don't have the space and or, the fermenter space or the physical space to do it. We've done some sours and wine barrels.
Oh, yeah.
We've done a barley wine and a wine barrel. We've done some whiskey age stuff, stuff that we could definitely scale up for sure. We don't have the space for it right now.
Yeah, it's always, that's the biggest thing right now is the stress of running out of beer.
Right.
So we're only open 3 days a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Both Sean and I still have our day jobs. So in essence, we both have 2 full-time jobs now.
Yeah.
So we both work for the local aerospace company, and then after we get done with work there, we come here and we'll spend from 3 o'clock till 8 or 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, just cooperage or cleaning, transferring, stuff like that. We usually try to hold our brews to weekends.
There's rarely a day that you can't come by here and find something to do.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always something to clean. So we ran into somebody a while ago, and I kind of stole his title as he's the janitor.
Yeah.
That's basically what we are. Is,
Right.
Everybody says that is in the craft brewing industry that brewing is 90% cleaning. So
Yeah.
if you don't clean, then you don't have good beer.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we're very sticklers about all of our insides of our tanks being clean before we use them. So, and fermentation controls the other things. So.
Yeah, we're very passionate about the craft and the creation, and being able to share that with people and be able to stand behind it and say, I would drink this all day, every day, and not, have to say, oh, I'm sorry, we had to put this out. It didn't turn out the way we wanted it to or whatever. And we've had beers before when we first started that it was like, here, try this. And he's like, I'm like, I agree.
Dumped it
down the drain.
Yeah.
It's just...
That was the pact we made before we even opened the place. If it's not a beer that we're not going to drink, we're not going to put it on tap.
Even if it's something you couldn't force down.
Well, and it was a beer that we gave a little bit to let some of our devout customers try. He says it's not the same, but I'd still drink it.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I know lots of people that would drink that. I said, no, it only takes one person to drink it and walk out of here and go, you know what? I had a really bad beer at Whitewall, and so we're not willing to put the finances before the craft.
Yeah.
Have you found your fellow homebrewers are coming in?
A lot of them.
A lot of them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they jealous?
A couple of them. There's one of our fellow homebrewers that was in our homebrew club. He's one of our mug members, and he says that he'd love to open his own brewery, but he just says, I'm too old and I don't have the funds to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you get a lot of, I've been brewing for a long time too, and maybe I'll open a brewery. And I'm like, yeah, maybe you will.
It is a business. I mean,
yes.
That's the other thing I was leery about when we started. It's both of our first ventures into our own business. So
yeah,
it's been a very large learning curve. Learned so much, not just from a business perspective, but in a brewing perspective. Even been brewing for 15 plus years. There's so much that I've learned. Just different chemicals, different additives to put in the beer. And that stuff is, we started brewing with just the water that Marysville provides. in the last 6 to 8 months, we've started messing with water chemistry.
Oh, okay.
And
Which
think
we
that-
never did when we were home brewing.
Yeah.
It's water.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But there is a
And
taste
And to
difference.
find out the impact and the way that you can push flavors and the way that you can bring hops out, and using simple brewing salts and whatnot it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And think it has really increased the quality of our beers too.
And that's the hard thing, being that we have 2 full-time jobs here and a day job. It's hard to continue to keep pushing it, like not getting comfortable and just being like, hey, we're at a whatever, let's just whip a batch up real quick. It's like, no, how can we improve that? How can we tweak it? How can we? And being a small craft brewery, we don't have a problem with changing a recipe entirely and just be like, hey, yeah, this is still the cream ale, but we substituted this or we substituted that or whatever. What do you guys think? And it's kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? You're able to bounce it off your customers and
Right.
find out what they think and whatnot. So.
Yeah, get their perspective on it.
And I know a lot of other bigger breweries that do the same thing. It's like, yeah, that's our IPA, but this time we used this hop, or what do you guys think, kind of thing. So.
And then sometimes, if it's changed enough, it can be a whole different beer then.
Yeah, we've
Especially with a bigger one,
we've
too.
changed a few of our recipes quite a bit just over the last year. Not to say that anyone sitting on this side of the bar would know it, but we definitely know it.
Yeah.
And the feedback is, what keeps us kind of pushing it forward. I think it's difficult. That's one of the hard things that I have is once you get a beer to the point where it's, ready to go out and be distributed, and everybody wants to keep it that way. It's like, how do you stay excited about making that beer every single week?
Home brewer, you're always brewing something different.
Yes,
And
yes.
now, even like you said, even on the smaller system, you could brew something different all the time because it was smaller. Now you've got a bigger system, and it's like, all right.
Now we're obligated because
Yeah.
now we have tap handles out there that they expect that same beer every single time, and so now we've kind of had to change our mindset to, okay, now we're in a weird transition where we're going to go from, hobby brewers to a beer production company, and that's kind of been the learning curve as well.
Yeah, it's thinking about it. Just
Yeah.
how, like you said, now it's a business. Now somebody wants that red IPA that way.
Well, and how slowly or quickly do we want to grow?
Right.
Do we want to just go crazy and quit our jobs and jump in with both feet, or do we want to just maintain? That's kind of the decision that we're at right now. Should we hire a brewer so that we don't have to be so stressed out being here all the time? And if we do hire a brewer, are we going to be able to let the baby, let the reins go to somebody else?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So it's.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think
tough.
we would have done it any different. We go and visit new breweries that open up with gigantic systems and immediately start distributing like crazy, and I think we've really enjoyed the journey. Going from making, when you first start making 5 gallons in your driveway, and you make that upgrade to 10 gallons, you're like, whoa, I just doubled my batch, holy smokes, And then when we started here, it was like 80 gallons of beer, and now it's 250 gallons, and we're like, whatever. Let's get some 20-barrel tanks. It's just volume. But like you said, like Aaron said, that growth, learning new equipment and buying new equipment and learning how to make it the same but more. We've really lucked out because we haven't had any issues transferring or transitioning from smaller to now this size, and so they've changed a little bit, but they've actually changed for the better utilization of flavors and whatnot.
So you're talking about distribution. How far are you guys going out now?
We have taps as far south as Kirkland. Flat Stick Pub has.
So you have a distributor.
We're self-distributing.
You self-distribute?
Yeah, currently.
So you do that on top of.
Yeah, exactly.
But the saving grace currently is that we only have one fermenter right now, so we can't send out too much beer and still keep the tap room open.
Okay.
Plus, with the Marysville or the Marymore festival coming up on Father's Day weekend. We're trying to hoard our beer, so that we have enough beer to take down there.
And I think we underestimated that. Well, I did. I mean, I kind of head up the distribution and the sales and stuff, and we were making 4 kegs at a time on a 2-barrel system, and going through that in less than 3 weeks here. Well, when we started talking 7-barrel, it's like, wow, that's like 14 kegs. I'm like, well, what are we going to do with all that beer? And so when we first started doing batches on the 7-barrel, I went out and sold all of it. And then all of a sudden we're looking in there going, uh-oh.
We're having beer for ourselves.
Yeah.
And now we have people out there that want it again, and I'm like, yeah, that'll be ready in like 3 weeks. Sorry.
So have you found that you've got people asking what's new?
Oh, every time. Yeah, every time we come in. Unfortunately, we have to stick to our, the first 5 beers on our list are our core beers that we always have on tap. There's always there. And then the last 3 beers are the rotators.
Okay.
And so we haven't had a new rotator in quite a while, just because we have to keep the 5 beers on tap, and we're out of one of our 5 beers. So,
right.
I'm really looking forward to that second fermenter.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once we get the second fermenter, it'll be a third fermenter and a second bright tank.
Yeah. We're going to have to get a bigger space within the next 6 or 8 months.
Really?
At least start planning a bigger space. Yeah, for sure.
So
if we want to continue.
What was the cream ale in one of your recipes?
Yeah, we didn't really have a light recipe. We knew that we wanted 5 different kind of styles, to cover the spectrum.
Everybody did a blonde.
We're not a huge fan of wheats. And everybody does a blonde. It's like that's kind of the fallback. So we wanted to kind of find a style that everyone wasn't totally familiar with, and then tweak it a little bit. So it's a American cream ale, but instead of using Pilsner, we use 2-row barley, and then we add a little bit of corn for some sweetness, and then it's all German hops, and we ferment it really, really low and slow. And it ends up tasting like a lager. It's very crisp, very dry, and at 5%, it's very drinkable. A lot of people that come in here that, I like Coors Light. Yeah, here you go. And they go, well, that's kind of like Coors Light, but it tastes really good.
And that's what you're hoping.
Yeah.
And that's part of it too. People don't realize that beer can taste good.
It is, yeah. It has been a lot about education. You get a lot of people that come in here that will list off some bigger craft breweries and say, well, I only drink this or I only drink that. And it's like, okay, well, here, try this. I don't like dark beer. No, really, seriously, try this. Oh, that's good. I'll have one of those. So it's fun to kind of take them on their education, I guess.
Now that's something. When you're a home brewer, you're swapping in the club, right? And you're all swapping, tasting each other's beers, and so it's kind of, you guys were already doing that before, so.
Oh yeah. That's when my brewing really took the next step, was when I found the club and joined them, because when you're making beer in your driveway and you got it on tap, your neighbors all think it's gold medal winning beer, and they're not going to tell you any different, because they're getting it for free.
Exactly.
So when you go to a club and you actually get to, have the president or whoever, the educated brewer, like try it and go, no.
Yeah.
Like, well, why? You fermented too high, or you underpitched, or it's way too bitter, and that's when my brewing personally took a huge step forward. And then learning, yes, you do need to control temperature during fermentation. You can't just put it in the closet and then come back 2 weeks later. So, yeah, for sure.
So, are you going to, or have you entered any of your beers in competitions?
So we'd been open last year for 2 months, and we decided to enter into the Washington Beer Awards, and we got some good feedback. And we were still very young. We were still learning of the system, so we didn't win any awards last year. We entered again this year, put 7 beers into the competition, and so we'll find out on Saturday, the 19th. How we did.
Yeah, we're very hopeful.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that we put in there, stuff that we only brewed once, small batch, special stuff that we kind of hung on to just for this this contest. So We'll see how we do. There's a lot of entries this year. A lot.
There were 716 entries into the Washington Beer Awards this year.
Yeah.
From 50 plus breweries. Which is still pretty small considering there's almost 300 breweries in the state of Washington now.
I know that's one of those things. I know that some people claim, well, you're only 50 breweries you're competing against, so.
Yeah.
But it's still the Washington Beer Awards. Everybody has an option to enter.
Yeah.
Right.
It would be a nice pat on the back to throw some medals up on the bar and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But ultimately, hearing it from the guy sitting behind the bar it's enough.
Because they're the ones paying for it, so and you want them to come back too.
Yeah.
So with 7 barrels, how many do you plan on doing this year now?
Probably still under 100 barrels this year.
Oh yeah.
Maybe 200, just because we have the one fermenter, so we can only brew 26 weeks.
Okay.
The other one will be here next month. So once we start brewing 4 times a month, we'll be putting out 21 barrels a month, or 28.
Okay.
So, yeah, we could get around 200. And who knows, we might have a third one
Before the end of the year.
Sure.
before the end of the year.
If we could just find a space.
Yeah, if
for
we
it.
could just find somewhere to put
We've
it.
talked about,
Make shelves or something.
the majority of our space is the tasting room.
Right.
We've got 2,000 square feet here. We probably got 1,200 of it as tasting room.
Yeah. And this isn't enough either.
Oh really?
There's times where we're standing room only.
Really?
And
That's a good thing to have.
it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
goods and bads, and you've got being in this area and the people not realizing that this isn't a bar. You don't go there. That we don't have food. You can't be here from open to close and drink 2 beers an hour.
Right.
That was a big part of the early education that we didn't expect. Was that people were going to be waiting for the door to open, and we'd be kicking them out at night, and they're drinking 6% beers, and it's like, this isn't your neighborhood pub. We definitely had to tighten the reins a little bit.
Oh,
we lost some customers over
really?
it. Yeah. People, I've never been cut off before. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, you want to keep your business going. You don't want something happening out there that comes back on you.
That's really the only downfall of this business.
Yeah.
I mean, the majority downfall is that we're asked to be responsible for the people on the other side of the bar, which is not fair, but it's another stressful part of running a tap room.
Yeah.
Before we got started, we talked to a couple guys that just do distribution mainly. And at the time, he was like, I don't want to deal with the tap room. And I didn't understand what that meant. It was like, why would you not want to share your beer with people? And now, having done it for a little over a year, it's like, I get it. I can understand why you would want to be that way.
Just distribute and that's
but
it.
your profit margin is so much better in the tap room than it is in wholesale. So you have to have the balance. You can't just do one or the other. If you just do the tap room, then no one's ever going to hear about you outside of your area. And if you just wholesale, then you're not going to get the people in here and get the pint sales.
So you've answered a couple of these. What is Goalless Brew is for the brewery? I mean, you were talking about retirement. But you're a little early there.
My idea was to start a brewery once we retired, but then Sean convinced me. It took a couple months, and then once we took occupancy October 1st of 2013, and we built. Of course, we started this adventure when the government shut down.
Oh.
So we had to wait for the government to start back up just to file our government permits and
Our
stuff.
TTV stuff.
Yeah, so we had to wait almost a month just to file that stuff, and it took until the end of January for us to get approved there. Which, talking to some other breweries, that was fairly quick. So we went from October 1st to March 1st, build out, approved to produce product, and we opened up with 5 beers on tap, and we figured we would be able to stay at a 2-barrel system for 3 or 4 years, just add more fermenters, brew multiple times per week. But with the day job, it just wasn't feasible. So now that we're at 7 barrels, we figured, it'll finally calm down. But now you add something on this side, and then something else comes from the other side, which is distribution. And I really like the distribution part of it. We've had beer down at I used to bowl down at Glacier Lanes in Everett, and they put a beer on tap, and they loved it, and they want more. And unfortunately, we don't have any more. So I said I can give you a different one if you want to put it on. Well, everybody likes the IPA. Everybody loves IPAs. I understand.
Yeah.
So our goal, I guess, is to make this our business, our retirement. I'd be more than happy to quit my day job today if it was financially feasible. We're still, every penny we've made has gone back into the brewery. That's how we were able to grow so fast. We just have not been giving ourselves salary. We haven't paid back our initial investment.
No.
And I'm fine with that because this is a long run. It's not
Sure.
it's not a short-term type of thing. So
Yeah, and you don't open a brewery to become a millionaire. You open a brewery because you love it, and because you're passionate about it, because you think you're going to make a ton of money making beer. You're sadly mistaken. I mean, the profit margin, it's great in the tap room, but the profit margins, and once you start looking at bottling and canning and distribution, and and then you got to hire someone to deliver it, and you got to hire someone to serve it, and you got to hire someone to make it, and it gets very, very low.
Yeah.
We have enjoyed a lot of flexibility because we don't take a salary, that everything's paid for. We don't have a single amount of debt on this place. So when we look to expand, we're free and clear.
Right.
So we don't have to freak out about making a loan payment every month or
Right.
whatever. It's like, yeah, we were slow last night, but oh well, because we don't have to stress out about it.
Yeah.
But now we're getting to the point where we do have to start thinking about hiring someone to serve, hiring someone to help out in the brewery, because it's going to get to the point where we're just going to work ourselves to death. And we could either keep it the way it is and be comfortable until we can get to a point where we can quit, or we can continue to grow but kind of hand it over a little bit to someone else and let them go with it. So it's kind of where we're at right now. But
yeah, we're at the point where we have to make a decision who's going to be the first employee.
Right.
And I think the next step, growth-wise, is going to require either an investment or a loan, and what does that look like, and are we willing to take that step? So
It's been nice not owing anybody any money.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure.
and it is kind of an arms race in a sense that I've been to 3 breweries that have opened in the last month, and they've immediately started out with production-sized breweries, immediately started distributing, and you have to be careful not to get kind of caught up in that, to where it's like, okay, we got to go take out a loan, we need a bigger system, we got to catch these guys, and it's like, well, my
business model.
Yeah, exactly. And I think my vision of where this industry is going, one side of it is going to be, let's distribute as quickly as possible, but I think the other side of it is going to be community driven. I think the more breweries that continue to open, you're going to have that community base and that loyalty, and as long as you can satisfy your area, you'd be just fine.
Yeah.
You can make plenty enough money to do it full time, just concentrating on your immediate area. You don't have to get crazy and go all over the place, unless that's what you want to do.
But that's how it used to be years ago.
Yep.
They were community. It was the local tavern that was a brewery in the back.
Yeah.
But with the number that are growing, that's really what a lot of them, I think, are becoming. It's you're one of this neighborhood of breweries, and this is where the people that live in this area come and hang out.
Well, and the big question that we got too when we opened was like, why would you guys open so close to another brewery? I'm like, you don't understand. It's good for both of us, because being so far away from the metro city, nobody wants to take the day to drive all the way up here to go to one brewery. But if you can drive up here and hit 3 or 4,
Right.
then it's a trip. So some of these new guys that are opening up, that are in their house, we're encouraging them. Hey, there's a space next door. Why don't you go rent that one out? Well, isn't that guy's going to hurt you? No, it's not going to hurt us. It's going to help us, because it's going to get more people to the area.
Right.
They're not, you're going to have certain people that are going to stay at your place all day, every day, and we're going to have the same thing. But the majority of people that come in here on like a Saturday, they're going to get samplers. They're going to, be doing their beer advocate and all that stuff. And then they want to go to different breweries. They don't want to just hang out.
Yeah, I think another thing that's really helped craft brewery in this area is the social media with the Untappd and Facebook and the Washington Beer Commission has done an excellent job of promoting Washington beer. The wobble thing with the passport, that gets people to go to different breweries.
Yeah.
And I think it has really helped a lot.
Yeah.
And so we've been very beneficial being in the state of Washington and having such advocates for the craft industry.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they really support. Just not on the boots on the ground aspect, but the down in Olympia and getting stuff changed and getting taxes lowered, and we have a huge support system in this state, which is really nice.
Yeah. So how many accounts do you have?
Half a dozen.
Yeah.
Currently, and 6. So we've got both the collectives, the Bryant store up in north of Arlington, Flatstick, Hop and Hound. There's 6 or 7 right there.
And we have the capacity to, to get a lot more. It's just volume.
Yeah.
So that would go along with styles that you haven't done yet, like you talked about Barrel Project and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's still a beer I wanted to brew that I've had on the list to brew a Scotch ale from the beginning, and we just haven't had time because a Scotch ale takes longer to ferment. You got to ferment it lower. You got to make sure that.
And there's a huge popularity turn right now towards lagers, and we would love to be able to experiment with some lagers, but yeah, that takes a lot of fermenter space because that takes time, and that's one thing that we don't have currently. Is time or space.
So a couple things. What do you think makes your beers stand out? I know you said it's good when there's other breweries around, so people come in and check out a bunch of breweries. Balance.
Yeah, we really strive to have our beers not be too hoppy, not be too malty, to be palatable enough that you can sit here and drink 2 or 3 of them, and balanced in alcohol as well. We don't make a lot of beers over 7%. We try to stay between the 4.5% to 6.5% range, just because we want people to sit and enjoy. If you give them a 10% beer, they can have 1, maybe 2 of them, and they got to get out of here. Take a growler home and go get drunk at home. But
and that kind of goes along with that community pub, aspect. Is that if you keep the alcohol low, then 4 people can come and hang out and drink 3 or 4 pints and still be okay.
Right.
Whereas if they're super high double IPAs and imperial stouts and stuff, it's like you really got to watch those people. Do we want to make them? Heck yeah, we want to make them. But on a seasonal basis, not on a everyday on tap basis kind of thing. And that seems to be the popularity right now. When you look in the marketplace, everything is huge, big, dark, barrel, and yeah, we'd like to experiment with it and stuff, but that's not really our business model. Ours is more community pub, the old everybody hangs out here after work kind of thing, and it's really been successful for us.
So going back to the hiring somebody behind the bar here, would that include opening more hours then?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
We that would be, if we hired somebody, that person would have the responsibility of running the tasting room for 3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah, I think the next day we'd like to be open is Sunday.
Oh yeah.
I think, we're off on Sunday here, and that's when we go check out breweries.
Okay.
So I think there's a lot of business loss on Sunday. Unfortunately, Sunday is not the day of rest anymore. It's the day of going out and doing stuff, because most people are either working Saturday or they're getting all their stuff done on Saturday so they can go do stuff on Sunday.
Exactly.
So yeah, that would definitely be our goal.
If we could be open 5 days a week, that'd be great. And be open, 6-7 hours a day, 5 days a week, that'd be awesome.
But you also have to have beer
Yeah.
those days too, right?
Exactly.
Well, and I don't know how popular, being open on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday is going to be. I mean, how many people are going to go out? Even Thursdays here are fairly steady, but there's still that back of your mind, man, I got to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
So Friday and Saturday are definitely the big draw. but then, Sunday's the same way. You got to go back to work on Monday. So.
So, what beers did you guys like yourself before you started brewing?
Oh.
I started, when I was home brewing, I was doing IPAs, double IPAs, just because as a small brewer, 5 gallons, it's more expensive with the hops and stuff, but it's not as expensive as a production facility. Mm-hmm. Even though you're getting everything at wholesale as a production facility, it's still when you got to put in 10 pounds of hops in a 7-barrel batch, it adds up quick as price. So yeah, I was drinking IPAs mostly as a home brewer. Once we opened up in here, I changed around to browns and porters. And it depends on the season. Mm-hmm. The cream ale that we've got on tap now, we've been tweaking it a little bit here and there. And on a hot day like today, it's going to be almost 90 degrees out. I'll drink that cream ale all day long. It's just an awesome beer to drink on a hot summer day. So I run the spectrum all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, it's like sours. 5 years ago, if you would have put sour in front of me, I would have went, what the hell happened to this?
Yeah.
And now I freaking love them. I had like 3 of them last night. It's kind of like wine. Like your palate changes as your education about beer changes. And especially when you're in the industry, you can taste something and have an appreciation for how it was constructed. You're like, oh my God, how did they get that flavor in there? And how did they layer it? And why doesn't it stand out? I find myself now trying stuff commercially to challenge my idea of, what a good beer is. Mm-hmm. I very rarely, just go pick something up at the store and go home and drink anymore.
Right.
It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, when we go to the store though. My wife will go to the grocery store and she's like, "Why are you going to the beer line? You don't need to go to the beer line. You own
a brewery. Why do you have to buy beer?"
Yeah. But there's always new breweries opening up. Always new breweries getting shelf space at the grocery store. You can always never stop your education. So that I always am looking for something I haven't tried.
I never get tired of drinking our beer, but you have to continue to see what's out there, what people are doing, because all over the country people are doing different, open barrel fermentations and, cool ships and, all the cool stuff that's going on out there. It's like eventually we'd like to experiment with that kind of stuff. So it's like you kind of got to stay ahead of the game.
If you don't change or adapt, then you're going to become non-existent, not important anymore. You need to. The craft industry is changing on a daily basis, so you have to have your finger on the pulse.
Yeah, and the guy opening next week might have some beer style or some beer that no one has ever had, and it's just going to blow everybody away. And it's like, well, like you said, if you don't keep evolving, I think that's one of the downfalls of a lot of the bigger craft breweries. Once they get to a certain volume or a certain level, they get comfortable, and then the beer just starts going downhill. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's so much that our palates have changed a lot, but you go, I have season tickets to the Seahawks, and I'll go get a beer from there, and it's like, this does not taste like I remember it. Mm-hmm. And it could just be that my tastes have changed, but
it's also $9-something, whatever it is.
$10.
$10, yeah.
But I hear that from a lot of people. It's like, yeah, I used to like X, mm-hmm. but I don't like them anymore because the beer's gone downhill. And I think that's unfortunately one of the aspects of growing is that you got to be careful that you maintain, depending
quality,
even with your volume. I heard some stuff the other day about a big, very big local brewery that just took my breath away. Some of the stuff that they're doing now, it's like, wow, really? But at the same time, you can also, there's a lot of local breweries, Fremont for one. I have mad respect for Fremont because their beer hasn't changed. They just keep getting bigger and bigger, and their beer is solid and amazing and stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the public wants, is they want something that they can have taste the same every single time you go back. It could be four batches later, and it still tastes the same as it was that.
Which is why they buy the corporate brew,
Right.
Because for the most part, it's always going to be the same.
It's just
They
production.
know what it's going to taste like.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. You
It's
go
a factory.
You go to get a 6-pack of whatever it is, Fremont or whatever. You know that you like that, and this time that's what you want, and that's what it tastes like. But speaking of that, you guys have plans to bottle or can?
I'd like to try and can eventually. I've heard, I was talking to a guy the other day that was getting ready to can, and the volume that the canning company requires, we're not even there yet.
Right.
So they won't even touch you unless you got 15 barrels ready to go.
Okay.
So we do have plans within the next year to get up to 15 barrels. So,
Maybe next year.
maybe in a year or so. Yeah,
Did you guys brew anything special for your first anniversary?
we did.
Yeah, we had a barley wine that we aged in a wine cab sauv barrel for 2 months. We will be taking it to Friday night at the
Yeah, it'll be on
Brewers
tap
Fest.
Friday at
Yes.
Washington.
So
Brewers.
we've been holding on to it. It was a beer I made as a home brewer, and as a home brewer I aged it in a whiskey barrel, and this time we decided to age it in a wine barrel, and it's got so many complex flavors from
Yeah.
the wine and the wood.
We entered that one too.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
and,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
you know, and we're also going to have a sour on Friday night as well. So Flanders Brown. It's been, in fact, there's still some in that barrel over there. It's been in there since April of last year. So we'll pull it out here today or tomorrow and start carbonating it to get it so we can serve it on Father's Day weekend.
Nice.
So yeah, the downfall of holding on to beers and then entering them into competitions is that you enter the last of your beer, and so if you win an award,
Yeah.
people come to your booth and say, "I want to try that beer." It's like, I'm sorry, we don't have that beer.
Yeah,
So-
we didn't bring that one.
Just sold out.
Yeah.
Just sold out.
And some of those one-offs that we've done are beers that we'd like to do again. We brewed a beer, collaborated with our graphic designer, and it turned out spectacular. It was a saison that we put orange peel and fresh cranberries into it. It was an excellent beer, and we entered it into the competition. Hopefully, it'll do well. And it's a beer that I'd like to do again. It's just a nice, easy drinking beer, and
That's one of the other drawbacks of growing production size is that these beers that you do on a small batch level, we have a Belgian wit that we do, and it's 100% fresh zested oranges, is one of the adds. And at 2 barrels, that was like 20 pounds of oranges. What's it going to be at 7 barrels? And who's going to zest all those oranges?
That's a lot of oranges.
well, and another take on that is our porter will do a pumpkin porter come the fall time frame.
Don't even remind me.
And we made on the 2-barrel system. He stayed up the night before roasting all these pumpkins and squashes in his home, and almost setting the house on fire.
Nice.
And at 3 o'clock in the morning, the smoke alarm's going off. So when we do it again, we're gonna have to get a few barbecues out here and just roast them out here.
Yeah.
But that goes back to the not settling. Like, we could do a 7-barrel batch of wit and use dried orange peel, or, that you can buy commercially or whatever. But it's not going to be the same beer, and we're not going to be happy with it.
Right.
So if it takes 2 hours to zest 50 pounds of oranges, well, so be it. We'll just give people, free beer, and they can sit
Exactly.
here
I
and
was gonna say a
make
couple
'em.
customers.
Well, and I've been researching a little bit too. Is see these people with the potato peelers? They stick it on the end of their
Oh,
grill
yeah,
and
yeah,
just take the peel and run it down there. It's like, why couldn't we do something like that with an orange? So I'll have to try
But
that.
there are some ways to kind of circumvent that. We have a beer that's going on tap probably today, hopefully. It's called Strawberry Fields, and it's our cream ale that's infused 3 different ways with Washington-grown strawberries.
Nice.
And we did it last year trying to capitalize on the Marysville Strawberry Festival popularity. Well, this year they're going to have a beer garden, so it's actually going to be on tap there.
Nice.
But we did that by collaborating with a juice company, and so they created a puree and a juice and an essence that we could add to the beer that was way easier.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's still,
Right.
it doesn't taste chemical or it doesn't taste like a extract.
Right.
I mean, it tasted like fresh strawberry. It's amazing.
Nice.
So that's some other stuff that we can, kind of look at. But yeah, like pumpkins and stuff like that. And I'm sure Elysian, all those pumpkin beers and stuff they make, I'm sure they're putting fresh pumpkins in there, and they've got an army of 20 people freaking chopping up pumpkins. And
The robots.
just one of those necessary. But
Yeah.
those are the beers that are the most fun to make, too. I mean, the craft goes into it and the production. So
Right.
we definitely like to get back to doing some of those
Awesome.
once we get caught up.
Yeah, we got a customer that comes in here every week asking when our double IPA is going to be back on tap. So.
Yeah.
Does it get anything else?
Well, he was upset because we were out of the porter, so he said I had to settle for my third favorite beer.
Well, at least he has a third favorite, so that's still good.
Yeah, the double IPA is his favorite, then the porter, which is totally different ends of the
Yeah,
spectrum.
yeah.
You've got
Well, you get
hoppy and then you get malty. So.
You get a lot of people, everyone is so hooked on IPAs right now. You get people to walk in the door and they go, thanks.
Yeah.
And walk
Yeah.
out and they're like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You don't want to try anything else? No. I only like double IPAs. Or I get phone calls. You got any Imperial Stouts? You got anything barrel aged? I'm like, no. Oh, okay. When do you think you might? Not anytime soon. That stuff takes time.
Yeah, there are people that
okay.
they want those. They stand in
do.
line
Yeah.
waiting for those beer releases.
Oh, it's crazy over in the Midwest. Like, oh my gosh, what's it called?
New Glarus?
No, the one in, I can't think of it right now. But they have a release party every year where everyone shows up and camps out
Yeah.
like 5 in the morning, and there's
Yeah.
a line around the brewery, and then they're limited to, 1 6-pack per person or whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. Well, Aaron and Sean, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for coming down. We really appreciate it.
All right, thanks to Aaron and Sean from Whitewall Brewing in Marysville for joining us today. We'll be right back after a local music break from Laurie Miller.
Listen, people, to what I say.
from Laurie Miller. You can check her out at lauriemillermusic.com. If you want to have your music played on Northwest Brew Talk, contact us today.
That was a good song. I like that one. And time for another beer. This time we have Pike Locale Skagit Valley Alba from Pike Brewing in Seattle. I hesitated getting this one because it's a little expensive, but figure it's the first of these type of beers that you're going to talk about, so I thought we should try it.
Pike Brewing Company is a family-owned brewery, and they are located in Seattle in the Pike Place Public Market. They were founded in 1989, so they've been in the beer community for quite some time. They're open 7 days a week and are family-friendly, have a great menu, and, of course, a great selection of beer.
Okay, this beer is a nice, it's an amber copper color. And
their website had a lot of information about the
this is a special
Skagit
beer.
Valley Alba. Yep.
This is a special one.
And since it's especially special to me, from being born and raised in Skagit County, just in time for summer, Pike Locale Skagit Valley Alba is light and citrusy with a clean, earthy, and nutty malt finish. Subtly seasoned with Yakima Valley hops, Pike Locale Skagit Valley Alba pours a beautiful light amber color with crisp, pale foam. Malt is the soul of beer, akin to grapes in wine. Brewers have incredible diversity of hops to brew with, and yet since Prohibition have been limited in malt choices. Now Pike Brewing Company is working directly with Skagit Valley farmers to grow barley varietals specifically for craft beer malt. These varietals will bring new, full, and complex flavors that today's craft beer drinkers want.
So, we had that interview a few weeks back with Washington State University here in Mount Vernon, and they were talking about all the different varieties that they're growing. So it is definitely going to give brewers over the years more varieties to work with and more flavors.
Yep, Pike Brewing is partnering with WSU's Bread Lab, Skagit Valley Malting, and local farmers on the Pike Locale series. In addition to their unique and full flavors, these beers will also help protect the Skagit Valley's precious farmland.
Yep. That's
so,
cool.
Like I said, special place in my heart.
Yep.
So the malt varieties, go ahead.
Well, and this is also the first varietal for the state, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Malt varieties are Alba and Full Pint from Nuts and Farms. Malted wheat is Cara from Washington Bulb Company and Red from Headland Farms. Hop varieties are Cascade, Centennial, and Mosaic. Honey is Wildflower from Salish Lodge and Spa. Water is from Cedar River Watershed, and the yeast is Pike No. 1. And did we do IBUs yet? No. IBUs 28, ABV 5.5%.
Yeah, it's very, very mild. It's got a nice flavor to it, and it's pretty cool. All of the barley is from Skagit Valley, three different farms.
Very cool. Yeah,
and it's all the Yakima Valley wildflowers from Snoqualmie. So it's a very cool beer, and we're definitely going to talk to some more of those people. We'll talk to Skagit Valley Malting in the future too.
Yep.
To see what they're doing, how they're working with the farmers too. But that is very cool. It's a good beer, and definitely check it out, especially if you're at the Brewery Pike. You could probably get it on tap there. I remember we did try it when we were at the Washington Brewers Festival, and
yes, you did.
It's pretty good on tap.
I want you to get me fresh beer. You serious? Now!
Welcome to Fresh Beer. This week's Fresh Beer is from Hi-Fi Brewing in Redmond. Their Van Hagar Session Pale Ale is, quote, for when you don't want to rock so hard, unquote. It's 4% ABV and 32 IBUs and has Sorachi Ace hops on top of Liberty and Crystal. Pale malts, oats, and wheat round out the beer.
Awesome. Another great fresh beer this week. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Northwest Brew Talk.
Make sure you tune in next week when we chat with Bellevue Brewing.
This show is produced and edited by me with engineering help from Michelle Russo.
If you want to contact us, you can email us at nwbrewtalk@gmail.com or give us a call at 541-595-TALK.
Make sure you tell your friends about Northwest Brew Talk. And until next time, I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
Stay hopping, my friends.